Good day, ladies and gentlemen. It's Eric Coffin. I'm here at the September 2025 Metal Investors Forum in Vancouver. I'm here with Al Kroontje, who's the CEO and founder of certainly one of my favorite exploration stories, San Lorenzo Gold. San Lorenzo trades on the venture symbol SLG. They're just about to start drilling again on their Salvadora project. And if you don't know this story, I strongly recommend you get acquainted with it. When you look at Salvadora and you look at the past results, and really, it's not a recycled project. I mean, most of these were new targets generated by San Lorenzo. Most of the drill programs they've done the last 3 or 4 years, small programs, maiden programs on targets, but for the most part. But it's extremely impressive how high their hit ratio is. It's probably above 90%, which is pretty amazing when you're talking about maiden drill programs, and in some cases, what are effectively blind targets at surface. Do you want to give us a little bit of insight in terms of the drilling you're about to start doing now, Al?
Yeah, absolutely, Eric. Little clarity, founder, thank you, co-founder with Terry Walker, a geologist in Chile, who's very seasoned and really knows what he's doing. He's quite familiar with the geological setting and the things going on in the Chilean mining scene, especially in the mega-porphyry belt that we're active in San Lorenzo, in our Salvadora property. So to answer your question, we put a press release out Wednesday, but that addressed what our general plans are, but of course they're not all encompassing. In fact, that press release, you could say, was a little longer than maybe what people wanted to read, but thank goodness some people got through it maybe. We ran IP after the last drilling program that we finished in February of this year, and some very great things came out of it. In fact, both at Cerro Blanco and at Arco de Oro, the 2 targets that we're going to be focused on in this upcoming drilling program. So as we sit here today, we've identified 7 locations, but that's the beginning of the program. So that's involving 3 holes at Cerro Blanco and 4 identified holes so far at Arco. But the 4 at Arco, which is a short form, of course, for Arco de Oro, they're on an extension to the northwest where we shot IP. So they're not in what we call a core zone. The core zone is where we were drilling exclusively up till now. So 3 holes in Cerro. We drilled on old IP lines that were done in 2018, our first 3 holes. Then we shot an infill line, or acquired an infill line between those 2018 holes, and we extended the northern line to the west. Very interesting things came out. Specifically, a big anomaly jumped out, trending northeast from where we drilled, and it trends right towards the strongest anomaly that we saw on the older IP that we didn't drill because of access problems and a limited budget. But what's so interesting is that it's very strong, that IP I'm talking about, and it's on trend with the strong older IP anomaly that we had. And I mean, this is a dare to dream comment, and certainly we can't rely on any of this, but if you kind of extend the trend towards the northeast, it trends right to where that the visible alteration that you can see from the river valley is, and that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's a really good target, and it was, handed to Terry. I mean, the guy knows how to color drill holes. I mean, your first 3 holes, all 3 of them had very strong intercepts. I mean, the best one was 153 meters, 1.04 grams. And those holes were not, it wasn't targeting an obvious, I mean, it was targeting chargeability, but, there wasn't like an obvious outcrop that you were sticking the drill on. The drill holes were 500 plus meters apart. Like it's really impressive to get 3 intercepts like that from your first 3 holes when they're essentially targeted blind on geophysics and they're, you know, gigantic step outs from each other. I mean, I was surprised that the stock settled back for a while after that drilling. I mean, you got a really nice reaction to it, but I was surprised the stock settled back after that because I was just like, I mean, what are you people looking at? I mean, I guess it was good for me because I accumulated a bunch more stock, and that's the same story. You know, once you're finished at Cerro, you go to Arco, and Arco is another one where you guys have had a lot of great drill interception. It's a big trend there. I mean, that's not a small epithermal trend. It's pretty large.
Well, in fact, Eric, we're not looking for small. We're not targeting small things here. We've got 4 different targets really that have the potential for multi-million ounce deposits. The IP at the Northwest Extension was so compelling that we had to go there. It's in the press release, and when you look at it, you just kind of say, yeah, you got to test that. I would repeat that we intend to go into the core zone as well,
Right.
but how much do you put in one press release, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, the targets are quite compelling and they're large. So to answer your question specifically, yeah, there's 5 kilometers of strike on Arco. It's characterized by artisanal workings the entire length. And so I guess that's a good exploration tool, but when complemented by IP, it's something that has us really excited, just like Cerro Blanco does.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that's worth, a couple of things worth mentioning is the infrastructure is excellent here. I mean, you always, Chile, you always think, where are you going to find water? Well, there's basically a river on the northern side of the property. There's main power lines, there's highways. It's 15 kilometers from one of the world's biggest copper gold porphyry mines. And one thing about Chile I find quite interesting, and it's definitely a positive, is they have a very transparent permitting system, and it's like a no BS system. I mean, the government gives you, here's the timeline. I mean, we will get back, and it's not a long timeline. We'll get back to you within this timeline, and if we don't get back to you, you're good to go.
That's right. They have 20 working days or 30 calendar days to respond, in the absence of which you can proceed. So yeah, I'd like to expand on your infrastructure comment. Let's not forget that the Porteria smelter is right there in operation.
Right.
It's not always you find yourself in a situation where a smelter is that close by.
Yeah.
So yeah, the infrastructure part of this is pretty attractive.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great story. The company basically self-funded because they didn't want to over-dilute when the stock was down around 25 cents. It's up around 60 now. I still think it's a really good spec even at this price. If you don't know the company, it's worth going to sanlorenzogold.com and just take a look at the full set of drill holes across the 3 or 4 targets they've drilled, and there's very, very, very few holes that don't have a really good intercept, and that's not the way it normally goes. Drilling 4 targets with maiden drill programs and having like maybe 1 or 2 holes out of 20-25 that don't have good intercepts. That's not how it usually works. I mean, there's a reason I've been accumulating the stock. It's a great story and a great couple of guys running it.
Well, it's probably the time to do a shout out for Terry. I mean,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah. Terry's one spot in those holes. Yeah.
Credit to where credit is due, right?
Yeah.
So, absolutely.
Yeah. Great story. San Lorenzo Gold, SLG on the venture. Thanks for coming by, Al.
Thanks for having me.